Welcome back to Corbin's Coasters and More. I'm Corbin and this is the second part of my top 54 coasters. If you haven't seen the first half, click on the link below and watch that first. Or skip those because they're not as good as these anyway. This is my top 26. They're all coasters that I've ridden that I consider excellent, unskippable, reasons to go to the park even if there was nothing else there, rides that I'll get on a plane for. I said this in the last video, but I feel like it's helpful to mention again. I've been to all of the parks on the screen, but I am still missing Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, all of Pennsylvania, and several of the smaller regional parks. Also, I've been to Cedar Point many times, but I have not made it back since the conversion from Mean Streak to Steel Vengeance, so my number one is different from the rest of the world. I also haven't gone on Orion yet. Hopefully, I add both of those this year. I currently have 192 coaster credits and growing, so these are actually my top 14% that I've ever been on. Let's go ahead and get started. Number 26 is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This is the lowest for me out of the non-Raptor RMCs, but still an amazing coaster. Unfortunately, the first time I went to Fiesta, Texas, they were on single train ops and were closed most of the day, so I only got to ride once, and I rode in front. Thinking I was going to go to the back later in the day, but I got to go back after they reopened and rode on the back and in the middle. The second half of the ride is hard to beat, but like many of the other rides so far on this list, it wasn't long enough, and half of this ride, in this case the first half, feels like it's just there to get you to the other half. But going through the rock quarry in a truly dark tunnel is one of the coolest ride elements on any coaster. For number 25, I have Banshee. This was the first coaster I ever rode in the snow, multiple times. It was opening weekend with no crowd, so how could I turn it down? It was worth it though. Banshee is one of the best inverts B&M has made. It's so smooth and so consistently fast. I also love the sound effects going up the lift hill, the coaster graveyard, before the queue, and the color scheme. It all makes for a really cool experience. Number 24, Thunderbird at Holiday World. Better than any of their Woodies, Thunderbird packs a punch in a short time without any boring or useless elements. It's the only launched winged coaster in the US and has closer near misses than I've seen anywhere else outside of the Big Bad Wolf, RIP. The only negative is that you have to walk deep into the park into a dead end with no theming or other attractions. Number 23 is the only Gravity Group coaster in my top 50. Hades 360 at Mount Olympus in Wisconsin Dells. This was the first wooden coaster I ever got to ride that has an inversion. The first drop into the tunnel is intense and steep, and the very long tunnel is lots of fun too, and you get to do it twice. Between you have the corkscrew, and it's only after that you get into the original Hades coaster before the additions. So it's nice and long. The only downside is the operations. They only own one train and they move so slowly. And since it's their only good coaster, the line can get extremely long. Number 22, Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. Another Woody. I've only gotten to ride it twice, but I love how smooth it is and the airtime is awesome. This is the only CCI I have on my list. Number 21 is Storm Chaser. This one really surprised me. I knew very little going in. I went to Kentucky Kingdom in the first couple months that they reopened, and this was my first RMC credit. It looks so small and very meh, but I could literally go to Kentucky Kingdom just to ride this ride all day long. The inversion on the first drop makes it feel much taller than it actually is, and you never slow down until the immediate brakes after the station. The last 30 seconds or so is the most ejected I've ever been on any coaster. Number 20 will probably be surprising to some. I love it even though it's a family coaster. Well, it's a family coaster, but it has enough lateral force that my phone flew out of my pocket and off of the ride. Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa is so much fun even without many inversions or really tall hills. I'm a sucker for launch coasters though. It really makes you feel like an animal running through the jungle. Number 19 and 18 are a pair of B&M Hypers. At 19 is Intimidator at Carowinds. There's just a ton of airtime, floater and ejector, and I love clamshell restraints. The theming is a nice touch as well, themed to Dale Earnhardt. Number 18 is Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. It's the only B&M Hyper Twister coaster, and I don't know why they never made more. The hills are so steep and there are so many of them. Plus the helix at the end gives you the positive forces, making for a well-balanced ride. It's also smoother and longer than most coasters. Number 17 is another family coaster, Verbolten at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Now without theming of any kind, this would be much further down the list. Still top 50 though. Most of the ride is indoor, and I love that it can be different each time with 3 random storylines. You can be going through a forest with werewolves, or through a storm, or just through the Black Forest with creepy vines and stuff. Each has different visual and sound effects, and of course, skip ahead 10 seconds if you've never ridden. Spoiler alert. There's a drop track going into a launch, going into a remake of Big Bad Wolf's dive nearly into the lake. Completely unique. Number 16 is the top thrill dragster at Cedar Point. This one keeps dropping down as I ride more and as I go back to Cedar Point, but it is the most thrilling 14 seconds that any coaster gives. But you wait in line for an hour for a 14-second coaster element rather than a whole coaster. Still though, the single thrill is enough to rank it this high. Number 15 is SheiKra at Busch Gardens Tampa. This is a great B&M dive coaster that rarely has a long wait time. It's a nearly perfect ride, complete with a splashdown, tons of airtime, and great inversions, but the rattle is real on this one, which pushes it a little down. Number 14 is another Goliath, this one in Six Flags Great America near Chicago. I got to ride this one on opening weekend and is currently my record wait time for a ride, 4 hours. And it was worth it. I actually like this RMC ground up build better than some of their Iron Horses. With just the leg restraints, it's the most intense first drop on any coaster I think except for El Toro. And there are a couple of elements that you can't find anywhere else that I know of, especially the ribbon where you have an airtime hill while you're at a 90-degree angle sideways. Number 13 is Nitro at Great Adventure in New Jersey. So much airtime. Plus I really love the scenery as it basically leaves the park and goes into the woods around a lake and back. Number 12, and this one has moved way up. 15 spots from my original ranking of this ride. Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa. Montu is so different from other B&M inverts. It is not compact at all. It does have all the near misses that B&M inverts are known for, but all of the inversions and hills are on a much larger scale. And it also looks really cool lit up at night. Far and away the best B&M invert that I've ever ridden. At number 11 I have Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Islands of Adventure. This is the most themed coaster I've ever seen anywhere, unless you count Escape from Gringotts, which I don't count as a coaster. What's not to like about this ride? A themed queue with a pre-show, motorcycles and sidecars as ride vehicles, which means there's 2 different ride experiences, fast load times, 7 launches, backwards track, drop section, animatronics with synths, scenery throughout the ride, plus onboard audio. This might not be the most thrilling coaster around, but it may actually be the most fun. And I would wait 3 hours every time if I had to. And I have, several times. Number 10 is the Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This is another RMC conversion that packs in a lot without having to be tall or break any records. Joker has one of the best stall moments on any coaster and really doesn't do anything wrong. Number 9 is the better of the 2 sister dive coasters, Griffon at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg. Although SheiKra has the better initial drive, Griffon has the better seats and splashdown, and last time I rode didn't rattle, but admittedly it's been a while. Nothing like being held while looking straight down 200 feet awaiting your release. Number 8 is my highest RMC and was at my home park until I moved, Magic Mountain. Twisted Colossus. My favorite part, of course, is that you get 2 coasters in one and both are excellent. Even with long lines, it feels worth it when your ride is 3 minutes long. The airtime and inversions are amazing on this one, and obviously if you get lucky enough to race, it elevates this coaster even higher since there are 4 or 5 high five elements throughout the 2 sides. At this point, this coaster is worth the trip across the country. Like, I'd say you should travel to the LA area just to ride Twisted Colossus. And you should go all the way to Ohio to ride number 7, Maverick at Cedar Point. Cedar Point is the only park with 2 top 10 coasters for me, and I haven't even gotten to ride Steel Vengeance, which seems to be a unanimous number 1. Maverick is not overhyped. It doesn't look like much on the outside, but once you get on, you understand. The ejector airtime is real, and your harness allows full movement. I'm also a fan of the section where you get shot at going around a curve. Number 6 surprised me because it's not generally a popular opinion, but the new Texas Giant is my favorite RMC. Even though it doesn't have any inversions, I love the smoothness and the huge pops of airtime. I'm not really sure why everyone hates on this ride. Number 5 is my favorite international coaster, Terran at Phantasialand in northwestern Germany. This is an Intamin launcher similar to Maverick. There are no inversions and no big drops, but it crosses itself 116 times, plus the near misses with the scenery elements. There was an entire themed land built for Terran, plus nearly the entire coaster is underground to comply with local height requirements. Literally next time I'm in Europe, I'm going to make sure I fly into Cologne for a day to ride Terran. Plus, Phantasialand is awesome in general. Millennium Force at Cedar Point is number 4. Everyone knows this one. It was the first to eclipse 300 feet and 90 miles an hour without a launch. The first drop into the lake is just an incredible stomach-dropping feeling, plus the fact that the cable lift goes up fast enough to scare the crap out of you. The entire ride is smooth and filled with airtime and over-banked hills and interacts with the terrain, making it feel even faster than it is. Number 3 is one of my newer credits, El Toro at Great Adventure. It's the only American prefab Intamin Woody, and I'd love to have more. Every part of this ride is incredible, except of course the locker situation, and that the ride apps love stapling guests in. The first drop is incredibly intense with how it slings you over with momentum, then the airtime of the following hills, and of course the hill about halfway through that pulls the train down out of nowhere into the overbanked turns. I never thought a wooden coaster would crack my top 5. I usually prefer smooth rides, but El Toro is a perfect wooden coaster. For number 2, I have Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is the tallest non-launch coaster in the country. It's basically like Millennium Force, but way better. It has the really cool treble clef hill that's unique to the ride, and of course is just super tall and super fast. Also, no ride gives better airtime, except number 1, Mako at SeaWorld. Mako is so smooth and has the longest sustained floater airtime I've felt on any coaster. I love to marathon this one, and I'm so glad I live close enough to go on weekdays when this ride never has a wait. I think it's a bit too scary for most of the SeaWorld clientele, which is fine with me. I really thought that after riding it 50 plus times that it would drop in my ratings, but no ride has ever given me quite the same airtime sensation. The second Camelback literally gives you a full 5 seconds of airtime. Literally, you float through the entire ride except on the turnarounds, which eject you sideways. That's it, my top 50 plus coasters. I couldn't start a channel with coasters in the name and not include a top 50 list. Comment on what you agree and disagree about below. Subscribe to my channel so you can see all of the videos I post. And be sure to give me a thumbs up if you want to see more of this. I plan to make several videos of what the new normal looks like at theme parks, as well as videos of my favorite rides and attractions. Because I'm new to this, I really don't have much video content of coasters yet, and I don't really plan on making POVs because so many people already do that so well. So thanks to every channel that I pulled from. If anybody wants me to pull something, just let me know and I'll replace that part. Not trying to get in trouble with anyone, but I do support all of the channels that I pulled from and enjoy your videos as well. Come back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new videos. Thanks for watching Corbin's Coasters and more.